What's good, everyone? I forgot I moved my camera over there. Welcome back to Someone's PC. Boy, am I proud of you. Oh my god. Alright, so we thought we weren't going to do any more Pokemon content on this channel because we're like, whatever. I know everyone from Pokemon, we're taking a break. Like, this and that. Only Drew and Sosa are playing right now. It's no biggie. We're going to keep doing some Digimon. And then Drew shows up this weekend and just like, you said you were going to do it. Like we talked about this months ago. We said you were gonna like play meta and go on the run, and then you did it. And you just got first, and like in such a like dramatic, hilarious fashion on stream, in particular. So, we are here today with Drew Bennettkennett, aka the Law Firm, and you got first, bro. This is so hype. And first place with what is it? Arceus V Max. Is it V Max or V Star?
V Star.
Yeah,
V Star. Yeah.
Digi's killed me. With Gengar. Which, bro, the HP on these Pokemon are ridiculous. They're so big, bro. I'm not used to all this. And you dumpstered, man. So, like, first of all, congrats. And then, I don't know, if you want to introduce yourself, because I think we have a couple new viewers, because, like, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Andrew Kennett is what it showed up on stream there. Previously, it's been Drew Kennett, Drew Bennettkennett. Those are all kind of the names that you see around the law firm. Let's Drew this. That's all me. So yeah, I've been playing for a while. I actually won Arizona regionals, which was the first regionals when they started giving out the $5,000 in the prize support.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the first cash prizes. So I won that one. Then I top 16'd internats there. I was really known for Greninja. Mm-hmm. Then I was the Greninja player. And then I top 8'd with Wailord, and I would kind of brought that stall Wailord deck back into expanded, so apologize for that. And then I'm really just known for playing these crazy wacky decks and having good finishes with them. Some of them being the powerful Slap Blissey, where you roll a bunch of dice, Aerodactyl, legendary.
You influenced me a lot with our really dumb ideas, and we really like egg each other on. We're like, this is so good, man. Like, we'll just dodge the bad matchups. No problem.
Right. Just dodge it. We're fine. We're fine.
Yeah.
And then we hit it, and it's not fine.
No, not at all. And then the techs we're playing, we're like, all right, this isn't consistent if we just played meta and we just stomp everybody with, like, X, Zoroark, whatever, like, consistency card it would be in play. But, I made a post about this on Facebook, but, YouTube's different. A few months ago, you flew out to join Crystal Porco and I, another Someone's PC member, and hang out in DC, because we haven't seen each other in like 2 years, right? And you told me we're playing Cube. You were like, bro, I'm done with the anti-meta stuff. It's meta for me, no more for fun decks. And I was like, yeah, man, you're gonna crush it because you play better than everyone else. And I know you dodged online tournaments. And as someone who doesn't even keep up with online tournaments, I just like saw a couple posts because even though I'm not playing the game, I still want to support the people that do. It seems like they showed up. They made top 8. A couple like the online like the new regime. Like the new people like coming out of there of online of hype, and they really proved themselves. And I think you also proved that, like, man, it's not like some good old fashioned like testing and grinding with the homies that'll get you like the same amount of experience, if not more, because you came with a different deck than everyone else in day 2, minus one guy who hilariously got DQ'd out of top 8. So crazy times. And so everyone's been trying to get on your list. We've had quite the day from you. I know you just flew in and you were like, I guess we gotta get this video out. Or I guess we gotta do this thing. Yeah. So
gotta get the list for everybody out here.
Okay, so
I've seen some flying around that are not close.
Yeah. The new set drops. What made you go? It's I'm gonna keep messing Arceus' name up. So do you go to Arceus or Arceus?
So I say Arceus, but I'm working on saying Arceus because Arceus is correct.
Correct, got you. Because Arceus.
So I am working on changing it. Okay, so I am working on changing it.
So, what made you go Arceus, Biberial, Gengar is the play for Salt Lake City with so much Mew running rampant and with Mew doing so well last week in Australia?
Brisbane. Yeah, Australia.
Yeah. Okay. So
yep. Yeah, so I don't like Mew. Obviously, it's best deck in format, amazing deck. But I just don't like it. I don't enjoy playing the deck, but I want to play meta, like we discussed. And Arceus V-Star is just obviously the best card to come out of this set. Being able to search your deck for any 2 cards and then hitting the damage it hits taking free knockouts on any baby V Pokemon. It's just easily the best card to come out of this set.
Gotcha.
So how I ended up on this was I actually was testing. I was grinding. I grinded for this regionals. I was waking up at 5 a.m., like hitting the gym, then playing until I had to work with my roommate. And we came across that we tested the Inteleon engine, we tested Cincino engine because that got the new Mincino. We tested a Bibarel engine, we tested just Crobat, Lumineon, V engine, trying to see what the best engine was for Pokemon.
To partner with Arceus, because like you knew you wanted to
Really
play
just
it.
in
In
Really
general?
just in general
Okay.
though. Yeah, we were playing it with all sorts of crazy things. We knew Arceus was going to be good, right? So
Gotcha.
we wanted these engines to go into every single different type of deck and see really where it flowed best. And Bibarel was just the best engine that we found. Sobble and Teleon engine was kind of just too slow. Finding one card on turn 2 or 2 cards isn't typically enough when Bibarel usually will draw 5 turn 2. So Bibarel just always drew more, and it was more consistent throughout the game of always being to dig 1, 2, 3 cards deeper.
Yeah.
Cincino was garbage, so don't even need to worry about that one.
Yeah.
Um, but so after we found out Bibarel, and that was the engine we wanted, it was okay. Arceus, how are we doing Arceus? What are we gonna do with this? We tested Beedrill, Single Strike Mustard a lot. We tested every possible VMAX you can think of, except for Sandaconda, unfortunately, because that was also a good deck there.
Yeah.
But then we ended up on Gengar VMAX is probably one of the hardest cards for Fusion to beat.
Yeah.
It has 320 HP. If you have a big charm on it, it's honestly impossible to kill. You don't even need Arceus in the Mew VMAX matchup because of Raihan. You can charge up your Gengar VMAX in one turn with Raihan attach knockout because you only need 2 energies to take knockout. So really, it was just so consistent to have that 2 energy attached attack, and because of that, we just went with Gengar and kind of just ran with it.
Gotcha. Okay, so digging into the list, because now that everyone gets a look at it and start making assumptions of what they want to change for the upcoming regionals that are happening. 4-2 Arceus, like it, love it, not really feeling it, or like it was great to greed, not the third one.
It's the perfect number, honestly. To fit everything you need to fit, you really never need more than 1 Arceus, and if you have 2, it's great. But you only ever need the 1, and once you get that V-Star ability off, Gengar carries over. So you really 2 is plenty. 3 clog your hand too much for Bibarel. So
Oh, that makes sense. I assuming like that, like opening Barrel, opening Arceus is ideal, or do you usually like opening Gengar?
So it actually does differ on the matchups.
Okay.
Typically an Arceus and a Bidoof is who you want out, right?
Yeah.
But if you're up against Fusion, you want 2 Gengars down.
Okay.
And you will actually sacrifice an Arceus or sacrifice the Bidoof to get that second Gengar out.
Yeah.
Because you want to VMAX 2 Gengars as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But if you're up against like an Arceus mirror match or like Duraludon, that's where you can kind of just maybe if you can get the third Pokemon, it becomes a Gengar. If you can't, then you're cool. You want the Arceus and Bidoof first. So it really is matchup dependent. And I would say against Arceus variants, you kind of want that. You can play it a little bit slower because they're not threatening to kill you in one shot or on turn 1, right?
Yeah. Of course.
But yeah, Arceus Bidoof, definitely the engine you want. You really want that Bidoof down because if they're playing Path, that's your way to draw cards out of Path.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the big power of that card.
Yeah, I noticed that Path wasn't really wasn't locking you down. Because you had like the turn 1 quick ball Bidoof, turn 2 ultra ball, and you're like, oh yeah, no, we're just chilling around this, and then you eventually hit a collapse.
Exactly.
And like, yes, no problem at all.
Yeah.
So same logic. 3-2 Bibarel, perfect line, no changes. Definitely want to change it.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't touch the Pokemon at all.
Okay.
Even the Gengar line. The 3-2. I was experimenting with playing like the Dunsparce to get rid of colorless Pokemon weakness to help against the bear, single strike bear, Zapdos V and stuff. It just wasn't worth it because whenever I had that Pokemon in my hand or I started it, it wasn't my Arceus or my Bidoof.
Got you.
And so it made it so my quick ball could only get one of them at all times.
Yeah.
So if I'm not playing those cards, I'm starting one of those 3 Pokemon.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to be able to just use one quick ball and have my full setup. So that just added to the consistency for my deck there. I did the third Bidoof because there's a lot of times you get two big barrels out. It also works very well with Collapse Stadium.
Hmm.
There were games when I would play down. I would try to find as many Bidoofs as possible, play them all down, get to 5 Pokemon, play Collapse, and discard my VMAX with a bunch of HP on it. So I
Yeah, yeah,
got
yeah,
rid of 3 prizes. And I just had Bidoofs on the bench. Like, what are you going to do? Take 1 prize against a Bidoof?
yeah.
Like, it's just so
Especially
powerful.
like in doing so, they're like swapping out your VMAX, like your reset off your Gengar. So like thanks for the free
Right.
switch, and then now you just like you kill him with
Yeah,
it, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
sick, man. Yeah, it seemed like an old Parallel City play, off of
Yeah,
Collapse City.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
play right into
A
it.
little bit worse, but we get there.
Yeah, yeah, I've got you. Okay, so Gengar's not changing, obviously. Hilariously, you prized 2 in the finals as your last 2 prizes, and it didn't look like it mattered at all. Mainly because that
No,
matchup seems so dominant because of
yeah.
Hyper Potion, because of the Tool Scrapper, because of the Collapse Stadium. Like, you said in chat, you're like, I hope Finn wins because like I think it looks like a good matchup to me. And then we saw it play out,
Yep.
and I was like, yeah, that is absolutely a good matchup. Like, there was no problems in the finals there. So
Yeah, I was getting flamed for that. I prized 2 Gengar VMAXs and I just didn't check my prizes that game.
yeah,
And I was getting flamed in the chat by everybody, but
yeah,
like
a lot, a lot.
I don't think they realized Gengar VMAX is irrelevant in that matchup.
No, they
It wasn't a
don't.
card that I even thought about.
Okay.
I was like, I need my collapse stadiums, I need my tool scrapper, that's all.
Because
So-
at the end, he's not going to fight you with the last Suicune the way that the prizes were exchanging. And like,
Right.
and if he did, it's like, all right, you just put yourself in a bad spot if I do have the VMAX. And like,
Right.
he just can't do that. And so you're like, all right,
Yep.
this, yeah, my Gengar V is going to get there anyway. So, yeah,
Yep.
he's caught.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't on my radar.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I should have checked, but it's fine.
So in terms of Pokemon searching, 4 Quick Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Incense. Any changes you want to feel or anything you want to do about the consistency there?
I will say I think that's if you can fit a fourth, if you have some inspiration to fit a fourth Evo Incense, do it. I couldn't fit it. I took out the third Arceus V Star for
The third
the
Incense?
third Evo Incense
Yep, yep,
for the reason of under path it can get a barrel.
yep.
But I like it. If I could play 61 cards, it would be the fourth Evo Incense because that is
Yeah.
really the consistency. It gets you Evo Incense gets you 2 free cards.
And a free,
Right, at any
a free burn to use it just to not search and then the barrel. Barrel for
Exactly,
the free
that
one.
too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just so good. Later in the game, there's a lot of times when you want to evolve your benched Arceus so that it now is still a 2 prizer but has 280 HP. Just being able to have those outs is really good too. So I wouldn't at those ball searches at all. Ultra Ball's too good with the barrel because you just get to draw 3 cards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, we saw you use that for the final turn to hunt down the boss's orders for game, and then there's
oh yep.
yeah, it was funny. I was like, oh, he's got Ultra Ball. You should be all right here. Just hit. So the MVP from the little that I've watched on stream, Hyper Potion. My gosh. Yeah, it's too good. Do you want more? Two's perfect. Like was absolutely not one from what I've seen. Like
No.
it seems like a make or break card. Like it was
Yep.
absurd. It's the Acerola of like the new
Yep.
the new age. So, how'd you come across Hyper Potion, or were you just like, this deck is so ridiculously tanky, and I just want to be consistent that to swing matchups and turns, it's like a double Hyper Potion tone comes to me, and being able to get it off of Arceus' ability just seems absurd. Like, what would you say would make you change Hyper Potion, or do you even want a third? If not, two's fine.
I think 2's the perfect number on that. 3, that's where it gets to be cloggy,
Okay.
and you just sit there with hyper potions in your hand, and you're kind of not sure what to do with them. I guess if you are expecting a lot of just Arceus and Teleon, or Arceus Duraludon, if Arceus Duraludon is the main thing you would want a third hyper potion for,
Gotcha.
just to be able to out heal them and kind of win the prize trades. However, against the normal meta of what we have, Hyper Potion also doesn't do anything against Fusion. So it's hard to put 3 of a card that doesn't do anything against 30% of the field in your deck. However, it's awesome that the math worked out exactly how I wanted it to every single time
Yeah.
because of that card.
Yeah.
So the reason I came about it was I was playing Sharon's Care, right? That's what Arceus and Teleon is playing, and they
Yeah.
heal their Arceus. The issue with Sharon's Care is it's not Acerola. You cannot pick up Gengar. So a lot of the times it was just they would boss up my Gengar, hit it first, and I would be out of luck.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, how can we fix this? Okay, let's mess around with Hyper Potion, thinking about how the Arceus and Teleon decks, Arceus Duraludon, they don't play Choice Belt.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, if you do the math, it's impossible for them to two-shot me.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting three-shot, and I added in four double turbos.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just have the combo of being able to hyper potion and double turbo and kind of just win the game?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
do just, I won my top four match and my finals match very easily because of that card.
Yeah, because of everybody. It did not look close. I'll be honest. Like when I was watching the
Mm-mm.
game, everyone's like, "Oh man, he's on the back foot here." Like he's prizes double Gengar. I was like, I don't know what y'all are watching. I'm seeing like not enough damage output and like
Yep.
4 or 5 dice about to come out and then get healed off. So
Yep.
yeah, it definitely looked like MVP and yeah, just phenomenal tech you found there.
Yeah.
3 switch instead of 4 or 2, and I know it's because you need to reset the Gengar VMAX, and it's also free cards to burn out with a barrel. Is that the spot you could see turning into Evolutionary Incense, or absolutely not? Don't touch that.
I could see it happening.
Mhm.
I put the third switch in Friday night.
Ah,
That was my final change.
Let's
Was
go.
I was adding in the third switch, and the tool scrapper actually.
okay.
Those were my final Friday night changes that I did. The third switch I really enjoyed, uh, but I'm starting to think I enjoyed it more because of who I was testing with. Kind of figured out some little tiny weaknesses they could exploit with the deck,
Mhm.
which people, when you played in regionals, they weren't able to exploit in
No,
the
on the spot.
match
Yeah.
that we get. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I added in the third switch just for it adds to consistency. I know Switch doesn't say draw cards, but what it does say is you get your exact Pokemon you want in the active.
Yeah.
So if I don't start Arceus and I just draw into a Switch naturally because I play 3,
Mhm.
that's one less card I have to Starbirth for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of the reasoning for that higher count. I could see I played 2 for all of my testing.
Mhm.
Like I said, I added the third one in Friday night.
Mhm.
Didn't test anything with the 3 switch. I was very happy with it, but I definitely could see it being the fourth Evo in sense.
And then you played it over the balloon because of just the retreat costs and most of the things that you ended up needing to move out of active. Because you're like, one balloon's
Still
fine
one
for here,
balloon,
and then
yeah.
and it's like I would rather have the third switch just at all
Yeah,
times.
the third switch over the second air balloon was because of resetting Gengar
Yeah,
VMAX.
yeah, yeah. Get the boy out of there.
No one's playing Tool Scrapper, no one's playing Tool Jammer,
Mm-hmm.
so one air balloon always sticks.
Yeah.
You just sit it on a barrel and you're good.
Why collapse Stadium? Is it just because just like we thought back in the day? Parallel City is pretty broken. It was you knew that people would play, like a 5 bench with Inteleon, or like it was absolutely necessary to counter out like most of the meta you're expecting.
So Collapse Stadium, there was actually a lot of different reasons why I came across
Okay.
Collapse Stadium.
Yeah.
So at first, obviously, I was testing Path because Path of the Peak is the best card against Fusion,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good against Duraludon because it makes it so you can hit them with the double turbo. But I noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people who played Arceus in that event, sometimes when I was playing Mirror, it happened to people. When you play Path and you're playing Arceus, if you have not V-Star abilitied and your opponent does not get rid of your own Path, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Your deck just gets less consistent. And that was happening to me a lot where I would be playing 2 paths, or if my opponent did play path and they stuck their path first, I didn't have an out to it. So I never got to use my Starbirth V-Star ability. So that's one reason. Now I have an out to Path to the Peak, which hurts my deck turn 1 or turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
The second reason was it is still good against Fusion. It's not as good as Path. I will never say that.
Yeah.
But it is good against Fusion, making them draw 1 less card, them having to pick between their Genesect or Coria or whatever they have on their bench.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third reason is the Inteleon engine.
Yeah.
That engine needs bench space. So many times you can just collapse Stadium, boss a Sobble, and they're the least consistent deck in the room. So that's really why I won. I beat a lot of bad matchups because a single strike being another one of them. Collapse Stadium won me top 4 because he had to fill his bench with like Crobat, Luminion,
Mm-hmm.
and he only could have 1 Houndoom out because I had Collapse Stadium. And he just needed all these support Pokemon on his bench, and then you can't set up with only one of your support Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So just things like that. Yeah, it is a little bit worse than Marnie against Fusion, or than Path of the
Then Path,
Peak
yeah,
against Fusion. However, against One Prizer and Teleon Ninja and things like that, it's just a better card.
Yeah, it seems absurd for outplay potential and letting yourself as well as your opponent play the game. So it's like, oh, there's no path, and like, oh, I'm just gonna like, in my eyes like Silent Lab, Hexmaniac kind of like scenarios. It's like, oh,
Right.
I'm just gonna let us both do whatever, and in doing so, like, enable my deck to be run faster than you, as well as punishing people who don't see it coming.
Yeah, exactly.
They go 5 wide bench, and you're like collapse, and they're like, oh, now I have to make a decision, and you kind of just outplay them from there. Yeah.
Yeah, collapse boss knockout on anything you want with Arceus is a dirty play.
It's pretty cracked. Pretty cracked. Okay,
Especially, yeah, it's bad.
yeah. That isn't the card to cut for anything else in terms of consistency. Evolutionary Incense, no, definitely stays at 2. No. Okay, moving on to supporters. 3 Marnie, 3 Boss, 1 Research, 2 Raihan. Any changes? Anything you want to say or speak out of, like, that comes to mind for the meta and how it's feeling? I mean, Raihan's broken.
I will say Raihan almost came down to 1. Almost.
Okay.
Almost came down to 1, and then I kind of in my head was like, don't do it. Don't do it. This card is too good.
Yeah.
People will be killing you. Don't take this card out. So I kept it in, and it was amazing at 2. It was actually insane.
Yeah.
Just being able to Raihan Energy Attachment attacked with everything in the deck. And so really, it made the decks that much more consistent. There were times when I had sitting on a dead hand, and I just have a Raihan, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just going to Trinity Charge with my Arceus V, and before I V-Star, because I just don't have it, and hope they kill me. I'm like, please kill me.
And then they do, because they're greedy, and it's nice to take knockouts. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like they can play around Raihan. They kind of have to take knockouts to win the game. Eventually, I'll just draw into it if you don't let me get it for free. So I would definitely keep it. I wish I could fit a 4th boss. Arceus is just so good with boss's order.
Yeah.
You just kill anything. But I don't think that can change the 3-1 split on Research and Marnie. I know that's very weird.
Sure.
And probably not something anyone would have guessed that I did or should be doing. Yeah. The issue is one thing you can notice about this list is there is no Pokemon recovery.
Yes.
And I played 2 of every single one of my evolutions.
It's quite reckless. It's lean, bro. It's like 4% body fat. This thing's crazy.
It is. The good news is, though, you don't need a lot to function, right? You just need a couple energies. It kind of feels like Buzzwole back in the day, where you don't need a lot. You just need like some energies and maybe a boss and just kill some things.
Yeah.
You even have the Abyssal Hand, just like they did back then. So now it's Marnie. Marnie's probably the best supporter in our deck because we don't want to discard anything.
Okay.
But there were so many turns when I was just like, wow, I really wish I didn't have to Arceus or Starbirth for just a Barrel to draw 5. I need a better supporter. So I took out my 4th Marnie and put in the 1 Research just for that. I can search it turn 2 and just have Research turn 2 every single time.
Did you end up making that play a lot?
A lot.
Okay,
yes.
a lot.
Yep.
Nice.
Research turn 2 was a major play. Just because Marnie Disruption that early doesn't do much. Marnie's more of a, I'm set up, I'm going to disrupt you, collapse stadium, win the game.
With that in mind that we don't play Pokemon Recovery, now that everyone's going to know the list, and now that more people are going to be aware of the deck, do you think it needs it? No. Okay. Just be reckless.
I don't think so.
We live for danger.
Just you're not the hype. I guess if you don't want to play the Hyper Potion, if you think it was a fluke and that you can't see value in it, maybe you can play Pokemon Recovery because you're expecting your Pokemon to die. Yeah. My Pokemon never died. Yeah. So I don't know.
yeah. No, that's good. It's a better way of thinking. Like, you're gonna complement your potion. You might as well do it with that.
Right. Exactly.
Also, like, if you open with the Rod or like what's the recovery in this game right now? Is it Stretcher?
Rod.
It's Rod. All right. Nice.
Rod,
yeah. Let's go, Russ. All right. So if you open with the Rod, like, do you really want to Ultra Ball it away anyway for your Barbarian?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, to like get it going. So just I guess just never there. 1 Air Balloon, 1 Big Charm. Is it fairly normal? I feel like that's all I ever see is a 1 and 1 of each.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess the Arceus Sharon's Care with like Inteleon and stuff play 2 Big Charms.
Okay.
But I need the 2 Choice Bands instead of the 2 Big Charms because Choice Band on Gengar does 280.
Yeah, I've noticed how much in those little games I saw that Choice Band was just cracked. Like, you're like, oh, he's got a Choice Band, we're chilling. And I was like, that is
real good.
Yeah, it's real solid. Okay. So then Choice Band automatically stays a 2. Nothing changed in the what's it called? Equipments. And then
I would test a little bit more on it because for some reason I felt like Big Charm didn't do anything for me. I'm not
Interesting.
gonna lie. I'm trying to think about when it was relevant,
Mm-hmm.
and I really can't think of anything.
It kind of just turned win more left and right. Was that kind of what it ended up being? It's like oh, either they
Essentially,
already had the 3 hit, or like they already had the 2 hit, and I was just waiting for them to switch
right.
out and then hit me.
Really, the reasoning for it was to have Gengar be in 350 for against Fusion, because that's really hard for them to deal with, or even 310 on an Arceus. But it didn't come up. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I said, if my testing partner just played against me so much that he figured it out and was playing better than these other people because this deck is so weird and has some weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
But that Big Charm was kind of irrelevant even against the Fusion players. I kind of just really ran over him. So that could come out. I would definitely mess around with that if you're thinking about trying this list out.
Yeah. 4 turbo energy. We're not even. The card's broken.
Yeah.
8 darkness energy. Perfect count.
Yes, I would never go down to 7. I wanted 9. However, Raihan kind of acts as the extra energy.
Yeah. So you'll get it back, and it never felt like you were on the back foot because of it. You were always just like, oh, I have a Raihan now, and like I saw you like literally search your deck on the Arceus, and you're like, oh, I'm out of energy. No problem. This Raihan's here. Like,
yep, exactly.
If this active dies, we're chilling. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I guess I'm gonna follow this up with you didn't like this deck in the middle of the tournament. You were also 2-2, and that kind of affects you. Yeah, and you get kind of mad, and you're like, I hate this deck. I made the wrong choice. First, what did you lose to? What were your 2 losses with started you at 2-2?
So I started the tournament losing to Fusion round 1.
Okay.
It was Fusion with catchers. He flipped heads on catcher. My deck, I don't know, didn't work.
Take that, get out skilled. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I super. Yeah, I got wrecked. And then, oh gosh, what was my second loss? Oh, Arceus Duraludon was my second loss. He played more healing than me. He played, like I said, if you really expect a lot of Arceus Duraludon and a lot of the healing version of the deck, you will want more hyper potions.
Gotcha.
But if it's a non-healing version, which became the more popular version of that deck, 2 is plenty. He happened to be playing the healing version, and I really couldn't keep up because I skipped like a beat turn 3 or 4.
Which makes sense in a healing matchup. It's when I heal this, you need to respond with this right now, or it's over. And then you didn't respond, and so forth.
Yep, exactly. So those are my only 2 losses. Started 2-2, and then I took 2 IDs. Both my ties were intentional.
Okay.
And then I won the rest of them.
Yeah. You went on the day 2 run, my guy. That was absurd. Did you like your matchups in day 2? Because like at the end of day 1, I saw everyone else posting their screenshots. I don't like my deck. My deck kind of sucks. You're messaging me and you're like, yo, like this is great and all. I don't know how this deck is looking. Okay. So like, what made you feel that way? Was it the way it was drawing? Is the way some of the matchups were going? Or do you feel like you were just grinding out these wins and you hated the grind out of them?
I love the grind, right? Because I really did enjoy it. The issue was because I took out Dunsparce, I feel like I lose to a fighting Pokemon.
A single one.
Gengar's weak to fighting.
Yeah.
The Barrel's weak to fighting. Arceus is weak to fighting. I lose to a fighting Pokemon.
Okay.
And I played against Rapid Strike Urshifu, Arceus, in day 2. I played against Single Strike Sojourner in day 2. I played against Single Strike Urshifu in day 1. Like
did you dodge Sandaconda at least?
I did dodge Sandaconda.
Okay,
I don't think I had a chance against that one.
The other one, there's no shot.
Yeah. But the other ones, it really came down to Collapse Stadium Marnie. Those decks, and I said this a couple times, those decks are just so inconsistent. And I knew that because I played them. I tested them a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up on this list, because I wasn't scared of these fighting decks because I knew they were just not consistent.
Yeah.
So I went that route.
They could start out strong and they couldn't get the grind back if you hit them with a Collapse Marnie and then and then promoted like a fresh VMAX and you're like, yeah, you don't have the damage for this. So.
Right, exactly. Yep, that definitely was the case. Zapdos V was scary.
Okay.
I played against Ian Robb in top 8, who was playing Arceus with like Bird Box, Moltres, and Zapdos V in there. And that was very scary. I had to play very well to try to play around that as much as I could,
Mm-hmm.
make it so he needed as many cards as possible to be able to attack with that Zapdos. Things like that. But it's rough. It's rough whenever you see a fighting Pokemon across from you.
Yeah. So with that said, would you not play the deck again, looking back, or were you just like it needs Dunsparce, and I wouldn't want to like play
So
around
I
with it?
will say no. I would not play this deck for another tournament,
Okay.
especially now that it's out there. I think it's a really good deck. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Because I won the tournament. I can't say it's a bad
No,
deck,
yeah, yeah. You
obviously.
can't be like, no,
Um,
it was just Drew being Drew. Like,
right.
you
No.
know.
Obviously, I'm not gonna say that. The deck obviously was good.
Yeah, yeah.
However, I felt like I honestly had to play extremely well,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a little lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And I
No
did
one,
get
no one wins an
rewarded.
event without getting lucky.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
you have, somewhere,
You have to.
sometime, it just rolled in your favor, and you're like, haha, good game. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But I did get rewarded for playing consistency
Mm-hmm.
instead of some techie decks that just dead drew sometimes. So I did get rewarded for that, and I did get to prey on my opponents for trying to be more techie,
Yeah.
and really trying anything they can to beat Fusion when there's other decks that aren't Fusion in
Absolutely.
the room.
And then you kind of did the same thing. You're like, I'm beating Fusion, and I just happen to be super tanky, and I can just play around with all this other stuff. And hilariously,
Exactly.
you ran into fighting, and you're like, how are you beating Mew? You know, you're like, hey, what are you doing? And so,
Right.
yeah, it's funny. Okay. I mean, lastly, I guess we'll just before we get into the matchups and how it's all to go. Why'd you play those garbage sleeves in top 8? Like, because that's why I thought when you accidentally like, did you even see the card off the
I did
top?
see the card.
Okay.
Yes. It's funny. I saw that card, but I didn't see the card I was supposed to draw.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I did see the card, and I immediately, as
Told
soon
him,
as
yeah.
there were two cards there, I stopped and looked over. But yeah, so really it wasn't the sleeves.
Okay.
So the story with the sleeves though, we'll start there. I forgot my sleeves at home, and all the vendors had were Dragon Shields, which I hate. Can't stand those sleeves.
Well,
So
thank goodness we're not sponsored by Dragon. But go, yeah, go.
There goes any chance. Um, so I really don't like those sleeves. Don't like playing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided they gave us the swag bag, and those sleeves came in them.
Oh,
Those sleeves are Ultra Pro sleeves.
interesting.
And they're not Pokemon official, so they're a little bit better.
The Eevee looks like a non-official Eevee. It looks like something that would be like, all right, we're just gonna rip it and
Yeah,
ship
so
the baby.
yeah, so they are not Pokemon official, so they were a little better. Still not the best sleeves in the world,
Okay.
obviously. If I had katanas, I'd be using those, but I
yeah.
don't.
100%.
Yeah, I definitely wish I had the katanas. But they were fine. Those were the same pack of sleeves I used the entire event.
Okay.
They didn't get any damages. I was deck checked multiple times, no issues with them.
Yeah,
So I was
yeah,
very
yeah.
happy. Like they held up and they weren't the worst. But no, that double prize penalty from looking at that card was because how they set up the stream is the dumbest thing in the world.
Nice. Talk to
They
him.
force a player to draw left-handed.
Never. Russ would never. I'm
Like-
left-handed, bro. I would tell you no. Like I'm actually
So-
left-handed, and if you made me draw left-handed, I'd be like, take me off stream. Like this is ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and that's as soon as it happened, I was like, "This is ridiculous! Like, I'm not left-handed. How do you expect me to draw like this?" And then everyone probably saw in the stream. Ever since then, I was very meticulous with grabbing one card, putting it on
out
the
in
table
front of it. Yeah,
first,
yeah, and then finally
grabbing it or picking up my deck and drawing it this way.
Which is frustrating because you're in finals and you're playing for $5,000, and you're like,
Right,
I had
exactly.
to sit here and take my mental energy and put it into drawing left-handed and making
Yep.
sure I don't get a double prize penalty again with this garbage.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was just frustrating that they do that. That's something they definitely need to fix with that stream. And the table is way too big.
Dude, it's huge.
That is, I couldn't
You're
reach his
bigger
deck
than
half the
me.
time.
I saw Finn
Yeah.
like, dude, he reached off to East Kenya, grabbed it
Right,
from
yeah,
off the
it's
screen.
so
He's like, oh, I'm gonna get my
ridiculous.
deck. I'm like, dude, this is. I'd be mad.
It's actually crazy. So they definitely need to fix that. They can do better with the Pokemon official streams, I think.
Yeah.
But hopefully they fix it. But the drawing left-handed thing, and getting
Nah,
double
dude.
prize penalties for that, I was going to lose that game anyways. I
Yeah.
prized 2 Gengar VMAXs
I was thinking
that one.
that too. I was like, oh, this game's already a
So-
wash. He's got a 2-0 comeback here.
So we're good. And I got tilted a little bit when it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then he scooped after turn 1 of game 2, and I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
got
okay,
daunted and
well,
you were like, "Oh,
yeah.
we take those moves."
I was like, cool, we're good. We take those.
Yeah,
The mental comeback is here, so we're
yeah,
good.
yeah. He just ran with that all the way to finals. But I noticed like the
Yep.
way he started drawing like out on the table from now on. I was like, "Yeah, that's not a true thing. He don't do that."
I was like, I'm
I
not
was like, "We
dealing
don't
with
do
this.
that."
I'm not dealing with any witch hunt because I drew left-handed. Come
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be super mad, man. Okay. So yeah, you wouldn't play the deck again. You got to draw left-handed. Um, Matchups. Let's start with the first one. Inteleon Jolteon. And it was
It,
kind of everywhere. Did you run into it at all?
I didn't play against it, but I also didn't test against it because I don't respect the deck. I think it's actually
Gotcha.
pretty bad.
Nice.
They rely on Marnie Path to beat anything,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which kind of just loses to your opponent not getting locked
A
out of
dead
the
draw.
game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I played 2 hyper potions. I don't see how they beat me.
Agreed.
2 hyper potion, collapse stadium to limit their bench.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they just don't do a lot of damage. I don't see how they would beat me. If you expect a lot of Jolteon, it should be free.
Gotcha.
But I did not test anything against Jolteon just
Yeah.
because I do not think that's a real
It
deck.
also seems like there's a lot of decks to test because of Arceus. And so it's like,
Hmm.
oh, this idea, what do I do against this? And like, just with Arceus engine,
Right.
adding consistency to their deck, right? Um,
Yep. Yep.
so Mew obviously is going to be the biggest one, the one everyone's
Yep.
going to be talking about. Walk me through a Mew game, why you think it's advantageous or disadvantageous. Obviously, it's favor because you're playing Gengar. So like,
Right.
how is your ideal setup work? What do you open? Who's going first? So forth. Like walk
Yeah,
me
so
through that.
I obviously want to go first. You do want to go first against Mew, and if I could have a perfect setup,
Mm-hmm.
I will start by saying I went into this tournament knowing and with all my testing thinking if you can have a 55-45 or a 60-40 matchup spread against Fusion,
Mm-hmm.
you should play the
Yeah, you
deck.
take it. Yeah.
I don't think you get higher than that. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fusion can beat anything. Um, so I went ahead and did something like that. Gengar is probably the best card, and obviously Gengar dominated day 2.
Yeah.
It had the most top 8 spots. But so my ideal is go first. I ideally, I mean, if I could have a perfect hand, would
Mm-hmm.
be two Arceus,
Okay.
a Bidoof, and 2 Gengars.
Okay. Obviously, well, I
but
was gonna get that.
but that obviously not going to happen.
Yeah.
So realistically, what happens? You have to. That's if you have the perfect hand and can get that instantly.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you cannot, you want Bidoof, Arceus, Gengar.
Okay.
If you can, and then depending on your hand, you may want the Arceus over the Gengar if you can only get one of them. The double Bidoof is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Because when one
It,
goes, then it turns everything online, and then now you're still winning the prize exchange spread because they're not going to waste their time taking out the barbarian.
right. That and turn 1, if you're going first,
Mm-hmm.
they only wait for them to, unless they're playing catcher, which is not a popular version, and if your opponent's playing catcher and they flip heads, don't get salty.
It
Like
happens. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
it is.
It's what they. It's what they played their list for to intend to
Exactly.
do this to you, and then it worked out. Yeah.
And if you are trying to play around catcher heads, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's a low mental stake in the game.
Gotcha.
You have to do better. Like if they flip heads, unfortunate. Chances are they may flip tails too.
Yeah.
50-50. And they have to play the card. So you don't play around it. So their only way to hit a bench Pokemon is E-Rope, which is why you want the 2 Bidoofs.
Yes, because you want to
Because you
swap one
want
out
your
too.
Vs. Yep, so you want to give them a Bidoof always. That's a big strategy that people came up with, was having 2 1-prizers in play.
Okay.
And then the Arceus can always take a knockout on a Genesect turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if your hand lines up well with that, to where you can turn 2, set up 2 Gengars,
Yeah.
you want to go that route. If your hand doesn't line up with that, let's say you just have like a Raihan in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can just go 2 Gengars. And then Gengar, Raihan knock out their Meloetta. They have to deal with a 320 boy turn 2, which is hard for them to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it does depend. I think the double Bidoof is the most important thing. Arceus being able to kill Genesects or Mew Vs is really nice, so you can do that. There's a lot of play and a lot of routes you can go, which is why I like the deck so much, because you can really do anything against Fusion.
Absolutely.
Raihan is a key factor.
Yeah. That's why 2 was so big.
Yep.
Yeah. What does Mew do to improve their matchup against this deck? If they can, outside of catcher, just catcher, or like just hit
I mean,
heads and
catcher probably helps a little bit.
yeah.
Catcher will help a little bit.
If there's nothing, then be
No,
like, I can't think of anything right
it's
now.
really
So
nothing. This is the type of deck that Mew says, yeah, you built your deck to have a 5%, 10% advantage against me.
yeah, and they just
I
take it
still have
away.
a 40% chance to beat you, kind
Gotcha.
of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's really anything you do.
Okay. Moving on to your top 4 matchups, single strike Gengar. Uh, how did that feel, or how should it normally feel outside of when you collapse Stadium and you stuck him one Houndoom on him?
So the list specifically in top four was very scary because he played Stone Journer,
Okay.
which one shots my whole deck.
Yeah.
However, because he just couldn't get it set up because of Collapse Stadium Marnie.
Mm-hmm.
That deck is really inconsistent. I spent a month and a half playing single strike variants
Mm-hmm.
with a bunch of different ways to make it consistent, and it's not.
Yeah, I
It
was
just isn't.
surprised that because when you visited Chris and I, you're like, yeah, single strike's really strong. Rapid strike's also very strong. We don't know about
Mhm.
Mew because Mew just came out then, and then now
Yep.
when you're like, oh, I'm playing this, I was like, oh, no single strike, and I just
Mhm.
assumed like it finally caught up where everyone else got more consistent and it couldn't, like literally couldn't
Right,
fit it.
exactly.
Yeah.
It couldn't. I was trying single strike with like Arceus to
Mm-hmm.
make it more consistent with the barrel, all sorts of little things, and it just you need too much. And it was shown in top four where he dead drew game two,
Mm-hmm.
and then game three couldn't do anything to a collapsed stadium. Yeah, my collapsed stadium did hinder him a lot.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful for me. But just I mean, yeah, it really comes down to my list. I don't think his deck was all that bad. I think it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the idea of Stonejourner, so
It,
that
it,
you don't
it
have to
was
play
that
the heavy.
like key dropping of collapse stadium, no response to it, and that you're just like, all
Right.
right, solid, yeah.
Yeah, game three, I think I collapsed Stadium and knocked out one of his Houndowers, and he only had two in play.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, Stonejourner was never a threat because it takes three energies.
Yeah, he's way too
Yeah,
slow. And then if you put it
exactly.
down, you're just be like, yeah, I'll just boss it and kill it. And so like,
Right.
it would
Yep.
be,
Exactly. So, that matchup, I think I actually had a pretty good matchup against him, because he only played one Stonejourner.
mm-hmm.
And he didn't play Choice Belt. That was another big deal.
Yeah,
So my Gengar VMAXs actually one-shot his Gengar VMAXs way better because a lot of the time he has to single strike roar twice
yeah,
to his Gengar
and then
VMAX,
that
but puts it at
40.
280.
Yeah.
Yeah, so which I don't have to take any damage. So it's hard actually for him to hit 320. He has to have all four of his single strike energies on a Gengar,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't happening. That's
No,
just not happening.
yeah, ever. And then not even
So
including prizing, so it's mad fun.
right.
Yeah.
So that was actually I would say that was a good matchup for me. As soon as I was able to not see the Stonejourner, that's really his best bet for me, and I think he should have tried harder to do it. I don't know what his hand was and what he was doing, but I think he
Sure.
should have went more aggro with it.
Yeah, just like search it immediately, start attaching to it,
Hmm.
and then just put Houndour in play and stop trying to play your Gengar. Because I saw him
Right.
playing with the Gengar, and I was like, oh, I mean, I guess it's just hand the route he has to take. Okay.
Yep.
Arceus and like the various techs that everyone's playing with it because they're getting kind of wild. And as
Hmm.
someone who doesn't really keep up with the game and just see like random screenshots pop up all over my Twitter and Facebook, it just seems like it's everywhere.
Yep.
So let's just run through them, starting with Arceus Duraludon.
Arceus Duraludon, it's a healing matchup. If they don't heal, you win. If they have more healing, they have an advantage. You still are more consistent and kind of a better deck, because you have other outs.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it's slightly unfavorable for the Duraludon matchup if they're playing healing. If they aren't playing healing, I would say it's favorable.
Gotcha. I know Arceus and Teleon, I think, was getting some hype, and the people are saying it's like probably one of the best decks in the format.
I
they
would
just
say
did.
I definitely would say it was my fallback. That's what I would have played
Okay.
if I didn't choose this deck. I think it's really good. However, being able to hit 280 with Gengar is kind of the reason I picked Gengar,
Mm-hmm.
and exactly the reason Tool Scrapper is in the deck. They rely on Big Charm being able to keep their guy alive, and I can search my Tool Scrapper and take a knockout on a RCSV star,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just win the game because
Yeah,
they
you
can't three
close out
turn
from
knockout.
there.
So, right,
Yeah,
one Gengar takes four prizes every single time.
that's awesome.
So that's
Okay.
why the Tool Scrapper with the Gengar VMAX is just so good.
Yeah. Any other Arceus decks that you can think of that are played. Besides
Um,
mirror match, it's just a war of like war of
I
attrition, or we don't even know because you didn't even test that.
I don't even know what mirror would look like. It seems like go first for that one. That's one cool thing about the Arceus mirror is, I mean, not really a cool thing, but if you have the disadvantage in the Arceus mirror,
Mm-hmm.
going first can just help you make it so you win.
Yeah.
Because you can get the boss knockout and take the first two prizes on their tech or whatever it may be. That's actually how I beat Arceus Rapid Strike Urshifu. Is I got to go first game 3,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, I was able to take the first knockout, force him to be a little bit less consistent because of Collapse Stadium, taking knockout where I wanted to, Marning him, and he had to just find so many cards to try to keep up and just couldn't.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. Malamar.
Bad matchup.
Horrible.
But
They're single prizers and they just one shot you, or
single
it takes
prizer
a
and they.
while for them to do that.
That's really what it comes down to. I did beat it in Swiss
Mm-hmm.
because Collapse Stadium hurts them a lot. They're an Inteleon deck that needs a lot of Inteleons. And
We're
one
hearing that a
Sobbles
lot. Collapse Stadium
right.
just Collapse Stadium's the
It's
play.
really good. Like Collapse Stadium Marnie is almost as disruptive as Path Marnie.
Okay.
Against these one prize Inteleon engine decks, Path or Collapse Stadium Marnie is actually just the most disruptive thing you can do to them.
It's superior path because
it absolutely is. Yeah,
it ruins what the game plan they had to adjust
Yep.
to.
Path is great against Arceus and Arceus turn 1, and then Fusion throughout the game. But Collapse just hits more decks if you actually look at the pool of decks that have been in the tournament.
Yeah.
So really, that's what I did. I just targeted down Sobbles. Actually, that round I attacked with the barrel to take a prize.
To flip a coin?
Yep. I flipped a coin and I got heads.
If you got tails, would you have lost?
It does no damage, so yeah, most likely.
Oh,
I probably wouldn't have been able to squeak it out. It was early, so I didn't have an Arceus turn 1, and I had a double turbo, and I was like, I mean, this can kill a Sobble.
Let's go.
Cool. And then I attached it, and then flipped heads, got a free prize. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So I used every attack in my deck.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah,
I was wondering that because like I just see it as artillery. And I looked down and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what it does." If tails do nothing, all right, we're not doing all that. Like we're not risking it for the biscuit. But sometimes you got to get there. Okay, so then the last deck we have on the list to discuss is your finals matchup, which is Suicune and Teleon. Yeah, when you're winning a top 4, you're like, I hope Finns wins this matchup because wow, Collapse Stadium just ruined things, and then Tool Scrapper behind that, and you just do so much damage, and then the MVP came, Hyper Potion.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I'm not losing this. Like this is not enough damage, and you play so disciplined against Suicune decks, right? And you've talked to me about this months ago, so I knew that when you said that, I was like, oh, it's Suicune. Drew knows what to do, and like even with Echoing Horn, it's like you're not gonna catch me like that, right?
Right. Yep. Luckily, I actually played a lot of Suicune. I'm a major Suicune player. I love that deck.
Yeah.
I'm props to Finn. That list was awesome. I tested cross switchers as well, but I was never close to his list. So props on to him for that list. That was a good list. However, it does not match up well against me.
No.
Every single one of my techs was good for him, and just the fact that I did play around it as well.
Yeah.
I want to say my techs carried me, but I also could have just put all 4 Pokemon down and let him take knockouts.
Yeah.
So there are things you still need to avoid. If you watch the stream, you'll see me draw, attack. I didn't play cards. One good thing about watching your opponent on stream is seeing their list.
Yeah.
And I knew he didn't play Marnie. I knew he didn't play Boss. And I knew he had 1 Cape of Toughness.
Yeah.
And I knew he had the Echoing Horn. So I played knowing that, kept my Tool Scrapper in my hand until his
I noticed that too. I was like, he must know he doesn't have Marnie in his list because Tool Scrapper hit your hand, and I was like, this is never leaving. Like there's no play would ever happen.
I sat there with 2 Hyper Potions in my hand ready. I was like, okay, as soon as he hits me, we're going.
And then you overloaded the active Arceus. And then you're like, I'm just double potion here, and then his attach for turn. It's no biggie at all.
Easy.
It's funny. Okay, so, great tournament run. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on the win. Your grinding is really paying off. Obviously, we all just need to keep playing meta. And get all these kinds of achievements and results coming from it. What are you looking to test next for the next regional? Obviously, I'm not saying like, oh, commit to a deck. You gotta play this one, man.
Right.
Like it's like what are you feeling? Because you said you didn't like this, even though you won with it, and you think it's a good deck. However, it's just that was its day, and then there's no more longer its day. Moving on with like.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think personally, if I'm thinking about it, that I would say the best deck in the room was the Sandaconda Arceus. I'm excited for that. I haven't tried it, so maybe I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a pile of garbage, but he did get ninth with it.
Yeah.
So it can't be bad.
No.
And it seems really cool to me. I tested I tested Flygon with Arceus.
Yeah, you messaged me and you're like, yo, Flygon's not that bad. I want to come back, and I'm like, I know how this goes. It's not that bad, and eventually, it's just not. It's not its time, right? It's like, no, it's garbage.
So I want to mess around with that deck a lot. Obviously, Fusion is always a good fallback for it, but there were some cool decks. The Arceus Birds deck is just really solid.
Okay.
That's always a good fallback. So a couple of those decks that did well in the tournament, I would consider. I wouldn't consider my deck playing it. My next tournament's Indiana, but I guess Liverpool's next weekend.
Yeah.
I personally would not play this deck for Liverpool unless you really just think you can go on the run. Yeah. I don't know. Like, if you feel confident in it, do it. But obviously, it can win a tournament.
No. Sometimes it happens. It reminds me of Szymanski when he got second with Metagross, or like I don't remember what he might have gotten first, and he's just like, this is the worst best deck I've ever played in my life. Like he was like, I did great. This deck is not it. Yeah.
I had to explain that to a lot of people this weekend when I said I hate my deck. Yeah. And like, well, what would you have played? I'm like, I wouldn't have played any other deck.
Yeah, but after playing with it, you're like, I just not feeling it.
Like I won the tournament, and I'm ecstatic about it. And I'm glad the deck was able to do it for me. But I don't know. Yeah,
but you don't get like that Whaler to Greninja feeling, like the feeling I get from Donphan Flygon, right? Where I'm like, I was like, oh, this is the deck for us. Like no matter what, you're just like, all right, this is stay away. Thank you for the W. Like peace out.
Thank you. Appreciate our time together. We're done after the first date.
All right, man. Where can everyone find you? We're gonna put your Twitch in the description below. They follow you on Twitter at
Let's Drew This.
Okay. And then someone's PC is just like the title name that you just have.
Yeah, that's just my title name. Yeah, so it's someone's PC. Let's Drew This, but it's at Let's Drew This. And then the Twitch. I'm gonna start streaming here. I'm gonna use this money. I just wanted to get a nice streaming computer, get all set up for everyone, get some nice streams going.
Yeah. Which is gonna be hilarious for everyone watching because they get to see all the dumb ideas you run through.
Oh, so many
dumb ideas. If you guys think like the content that everyone puts out, where they're just like, oh, we're just like, they just need to switch decks to entertain the people for the day. This is like literally Drew going, oh, I haven't taken my time to see whether or not this card's garbage yet, and so we're gonna try to really optimize this really bad card, and then we're like, you know what, throw it away, go to the next.
Which I'm actually much better at throwing decks away now, which is probably what contributed a lot to this win.
Yeah. What we talked about, I was like,
I used to run with it.
A little bit more meta discipline.
Hey, I tested Wishy Washy for this tournament for a week.
You're wildin', bro. I don't even know what it does, and I know it sucks. Like,
yeah,
it has to be horrible.
It was fine though.
We're coming up on 55 minutes into the video. It's been a long video. Any final shout outs? Anything you want to say to the people? And we know that Indiana's coming up as your next event. Is this the same format?
It is the same format,
okay.
Yeah. So we have Liverpool and then Frankfurt for Internats.
Got you.
And then Indiana is still going to be the same format.
And you're not going to Internats because you just said you're going. The next one is Indiana.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to Frankfurt. I just can't make it, unfortunately. But that's okay. Yeah. I'll be at all the other ones.
Which is pretty solid because now the Internats gets to happen right before Indiana, and you're like, all right, the meta's gonna continue to warp based upon those results, and then
absolutely, yeah, it's still going to keep warping. I want to say to everyone who says this format's garbage, I know you're very upset with Mew, and Fusion, but just give the format a little bit more of a chance. Try to play and grind a little bit, see what you can do, try different things, because Fusion didn't top 8. Yeah, it was 40% of day 2, and it did not top 8.
No.
a lot of people were, I was seeing on Twitter and everything, a lot of people were saying, well, it didn't win the tournament because none of the top players played it.
Sure.
Okay, well, think to yourself, what's the reason
Yeah.
the top
There
players didn't
must
play
be a reason why the top players in the game continue
Right.
to not want to play said deck.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
yes, Fusion best deck in format, but don't hate a format just because there's a best deck in format.
I
Fusion
am
is
absolutely
beatable.
in that group. I will not play the only reason I'm going to go to New Jersey is for you and to see the boys. And then whatever deck you're telling me to play, I'll play. If it's Mew, I'm not playing. I will just sit around and spectate. I'll ask the floor judge or something. I don't know, but I will continue to be a hater. And I mean, dude, you're grinding and your innovation paid off. Even if you don't even like the deck, it's beyond hilarious that you don't like the deck. So. Yeah,
It's the text. I like the text I played.
Yeah,
This
the
was
text
best
really
deck
good.
for the
Yeah,
text.
like,
That's
oh,
really what
hyper
it was.
potion, jeez.
Hyper potion?
Like, hyper, like,
Do they
no,
have a gold
Gengar
hyper
Arceus. You're like, no,
potion?
none of that. Cool, man. Thank you so much for the interview. I'm glad we're back to creating Pokemon content on this channel, and I know you said you might dive into doing it more again in the future, as well as what you got from Twitch. So cool.
No, I'm gonna start. Yeah, I'm gonna do Twitch. I'm gonna start posting videos onto here weekly. Get some videos up for some decks. So be on the lookout for more content coming from someone's PC here.
Cool. All right. Thanks everyone, and have a good day.
Bye.